Hi, it's Tuesday, the 13th of December, 2022, and we're here, Red Moon, in the Green Castle, and it's the last 52-step process in a 260-day cycle. So once we've completed this 52 days, we'll be right back to the beginning, and that's the 3rd of February. There's going to be some very big changes going on, astrologically speaking, by this time of the new cycle. So I'm going to be putting resources together for this time. And so during this 52-day process, I'm going to be looking at a bigger picture overview that we can work with before we get to that place. So looking back on what we've learned here, on what's manifest with Taurus energy. 19th of May is when we began this one. And so we're going to be in Aquarius energy, bigger picture overview, and the Aquarian age that we are stepping into now. So how are you today? How are you feeling? We've got the waning moon energy now. And by the time we complete this process, the 13 days of red moon, the first initiating energy, awakening to authenticity and being the beacon of light, we're going to be at Christmas Day. So red moon is here, the 9th Mayan sign. And bear with me because I've got a helper again today. Oh, like that. So yes, we're here. So we've got 2 portal days coming up, tomorrow and the day after. And so this runs the 9th Mayan sign, so right the way down and up to next 12 step of the 20-day process. That's when it will complete on Christmas Day. So we will be in Red Crystal Dragon. We'll have completed our survival mechanism programming for this particular 260-day cycle. And so Red Dragon is the initiator, and that's the shift energy on that day. And then the next day, as you can see there, we straight away go into a portal of white wind. So that's the refining energy of the Green Castle, how much our spirit can guide us and spiritual truths. And so then running down, we go into Blue Eagle, which is a transformation, the bigger picture of our planetary serving energy. And my belief system, that's all about getting clear about our patterns, our codes, healing, letting go of these old wounding patterns so we can come into a different space. And then finally, we go into Yellow Star, being the star that we really are. And yesterday, that was Yellow Cosmic Star. So yesterday, which is Monday, December the 12th, would have been showing us whether we're being our true star seeded energy, where the planet is Venus, and we've got Venus in Capricorn right now. So being the disciple, being disciplined, taking the small steps, being grounded, earthy, practical, reparenting ourselves around how to be a father for ourselves now. And today we've got the moon in Cancer. So I'm just going to go on there so I can have a look at what's happening today in the starry skies. It's been a challenging few weeks, for sure. Challenges are what get to the heart of the matter. We've got the moon today at 28 degrees of Cancer, the sun at 19 degrees of Sagittarius, Mercury is at 7 degrees of Capricorn, Venus is at 1 degree of Capricorn. So again, this energy, our higher self, red moon, Mercury, mindset, how to let go of projections that are no longer serving us. And in my understanding and experience, everything is a projection of who we believe we are and how we believe the world to be. And until we get to a point in our life where we start to examine our beliefs and see if they are serving us, then we're often living unconsciously. So in order to be a conscious dreamer, we have to waken up to our own patterns, to our own behaviors, beliefs, emotional conflicts that are still happening, our triggers, and start to work with that understanding using transformational tools. So Mercury at 7 degrees is a mystic pattern. Number 7 is blue hand in the Mayan signs. How do we shape our destiny? Through healing. And also, so again, in where we've just been, of course, we had blue hand the day before yesterday, which is, again, becoming very clear about how we need to be shaping our destiny now. What's pulling us down, what's painful, limiting us in some way. In the sun in Sagittarius, this is a very big time. 19 degrees again today of that. So 9 and 1, number 10. How to shift our moon story. That's what it's all about over and over again. How to become aware of our emotional story and how to heal it, and then how to create new behaviors from that clear space. We've got Mars in Gemini at 14 degrees retrograde. So we're still going over old ground around these mindsets, what action we need to take around our belief systems and how to rewrite them. With Mercury, we've got a retrograde coming up on the 29th. So that's not going to be in this wave spell, it's going to be in the next one. So we're going to be going over old ground. So if you've got Mercury retrograde in your chart, you'll be familiar with going over old ground around mindsets and how to heal them. So that's something to look forward to just before the end of this Gregorian year. Jupiter today is at 29 degrees of Aries, and so that's going to change in the new year. More of that later. Also, the North Node is going to change. Saturn is also going to change. At the moment, it's at 20 degrees of Aquarius. It's going to be going into Pisces next year, so that means a Saturn return for me and my son, who I had at my Saturn return. And so revisiting that time. Chiron's at 12 degrees of Aries, and that's retrograde still. So we're in the crystal clarity of who am I and how do I create a new version of me that's coming from a consciously healed, aware space. Uranus is still retrograde, and that's at 15 degrees of Taurus. Neptune's at 22 degrees, the Mary Magdalene Master Builder Code in Pisces, and Pluto at 27 degrees in Capricorn. And so again, where these are in your chart is really good to know and how that's affecting you. Pluto's also going to be shifting into Aquarius next year. So I'll do another video on that nearer to the end of the year, which isn't long off. I'm talking as though it's far, far away, but of course it isn't. Lots going on for me right now, new learning and going deeper. So doing the best I can with the video and then the information as to where I am, as always. So the Mayan Oracle for this 13-day process is complex stability. So again, like I just mentioned, if you go back to Blue Hand, was the previous one. If you want to work this out using your own astrology, it is where your Saturn is, where your Uranus is, and where your Chiron is. And your Chiron is the bridge. So when we have a Saturn return coming up, which is around about 28 years approximately, then we get a revisitation of similar patterns. And if you are the same age as me, so I was born in 1965, you will be experiencing this Saturn return coming up in March. And so it's good to think back on what you were working with back in around 1995 and what belief systems did you have then, what experiences were you having, how are they showing up today, and how can we work with these to change these as well. So that formula comes from Barbara Hand Clow, by the way. And if you haven't checked her out yet, check her out because she's amazing and has been a key teacher in my life. So start cards for today. We have the Sun, beautiful card. How much light are we holding at the darkest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere? Just remember that, darkest before dawn. And so as we go down into the winter solstice time, very intense energy with that. And so just hold on, breathe, take each day one step at a time, and create your sanctuary space. Get rest if you can, as much as you can. We're supposed to be resting at this time of year. I know we've been conditioned out of that, but that's key. So that's a very powerful card. And if you want to know more about that, Google it. I will post links under this video of the ones that I really like. Eli Tarot, strikingly.com. He does very, very in-depth info on that because these are very powerful cards. They have a lot of information. The other major arcana, the Eon, as a Saturn in Aquarius is starting to come to an end and go into the next Eon. And as we go into the Aquarius age, again, these are all about patterns on a very simple level. So we can just focus on our patterns, knowing that our childhood patterns are the key to everything. Happiness. That's a lovely card as well. So the Nine of Cups. So as we come to the end of our life as human beings as well, as we age and get older, we're seeing the manifestation of everything that came before, and maybe seeing it in our family as well, and how painful that can feel at times as we start to lose traction, lose human being abilities, or things may become more difficult. And so a good space to be in also is to be gentle with ourselves and be mindful of what we do each day. Echoes in eternity, in our eternity, in our future. Whatever we're doing today comes as a result of the past. And the more that we heal and get clear, the more inspiration we can download. We can learn new stuff. Sometimes I know it's overwhelming, the stuff that we have to learn. And I've just been going through that with technology now. For younger people, I know often this is very, very easy because they come in with that code. This morning I've been doing a tutorial, and as part of my degree that I'm doing in forensic psychology. So it's a complex subject matter anyway, and amazing and totally synchronized right on time with everything that's happening in my life. But also you've got to learn how to navigate around their hub. You've got to learn how to use all the software in order to deliver your assignments. And if you're doing any online work as a therapist, for example, as a health provider, of course, lots of new technology coming in there. So there's so much more now than ever before in terms of all the boxes you've got to tick, and to be able to hold that information and to be able to have enough energy and mind space to run it all as well on a personal level. So we're seeing where we actually are rather than where we think we are. Remember, with Uranus in Taurus, it's about embodiment. North Node in Taurus, it's about where we're heading for: practical, no BS, goddess energy. And at the same time, we are having all this new air energy coming in with these other power planets in Aquarius and moving towards that. So it's a profoundly challenging time. We're getting squeezed in order to go into this new space of awareness. So we've got 3 of discs, the works. And so again, this is doing the work within and building up your trust muscle and trusting, remember, that you are the world on one level. It's your holograph, it's your experience. But also, as I'm saying that, just to be mindful, if you're doing affirmations, if you're writing things out for yourself, it's interesting to watch. Just had a mini trip to Mexico this week. I was in a lovely, lovely space, and they had all these beautiful signs up on the wall. You are amazing, you are the universe. But when you say that out loud, you're saying you. You're not saying I. I am the universe. I am amazing. So again, it's just about making simple shifts and finding tools to support us at this very disciplined time. So Venus in Capricorn, on one level, can be about who am I in terms of my discipline, taking the small steps every day, changing my behaviors, aligning with Christ consciousness, and being clear and free of the distortions from the past. And so often in our lineage, our human being lineage, we have been taught by people who are in a world of worry, anxiety, in a world of distortions around their beliefs because they've learned from other people. So again, it's experiential Chinese whispers that we're living in every day. Most people do not have any awareness about how certain ways of being create emotional trauma, and how that distorts our perceptions, that distorts our beliefs, and how we're running so many assumptions that are not coming from a place of factual information. And of course, if you go to the other extreme, you can go on about theories endlessly about this. Well, what is the truth? You know, what is real? Most things are just theories, and they remain as a fact until something else comes along to supersede them. I'm just going to mention this book. This is a book that I'm reading at the moment, which is hard to read, and so, you know, warning on that if you decide to go for it. There's some hard stuff in there, but part of the psychology, forensic psychology around how people have what we call disorders, or they're not living in a way that, let's say, it's respectful or loving, or sometimes it's harmful to themselves, it's harmful to human beings. And then where's that coming from? What's driving that? And even though I've been a student of psychology now for 27 years, in lots of different ways, so I've done lots of different learning and different modalities, not just straightforward psychology, because my work is not mainstream. I still am studying mainstream as well. And, you know, there's been lots of surprises in there for me. And whilst things can be challenging in our day-to-day life, and sometimes we feel like we don't want to be going there, it's stretching us, this is where the gold is. And he actually talks about that, Simon Baron-Cohen, in his work. Check him out on YouTube as well. Just Google him. He's got lots of great stuff out there. He was very challenging, and I think still is, to many people around what his hypotheses are around different groups of people. I'm just going to leave it at that. You go and check it out for yourself. But it brings new light to situations. So it's remembering that, you know, we take on belief systems from our caregivers as a child, from our schooling, you know, and is our schooling coming without an agenda? What agendas are there? Often shocking things coming to light now around what we believed the world to be. In NLP terms, our map of the world. And then how that actually seems to be unfolding now in a different way. And so often this can be a revelation. And each person has their own perception based on their own journey and what they're here to learn and what they're here to share. And many, many people, of course, haven't even woken up to that yet. So once we start to go beyond a very narrow genre that's presented to us to keep us a certain way in society, then we start to break out of that limitation, and we start to often be shocked because of how we learn new things that are completely the opposite of what we thought. So one of the key things, you know this if you watch me on a regular basis, is emotional freedom technique. Highly recommend you check it out if you haven't done already, because this is mind-blowing therapy. And again, back to this book, he talks about some great practical stuff here. So how we can learn, there's a section on the brain, and what they call empathy circuitry. And this totally ties in with EFT because the amygdala is absolutely key. And once people start to really understand how their own system works, then they can work with their system and they can rewire it and reboot it. And this is so, so important. So in here, this is what he talks about. It's all different parts of the brain. It goes into detail of how they work. And largely, they are only starting to really be understood now because of technology. So this is a great thing about technology in this way is, you can watch somebody interact with different stimulants, different pictures, films, etc., and see how different parts of their brain light up, so that we can start to look at things in a different way and understand empathy and why empathy is sometimes there and why it's not, and what creates that situation, which is so, so important as to our human history. And being able to be authentic, being able to be a beacon of light at a time where there is great darkness right now. And also understanding ourselves, why we think a certain way, what beliefs we have, and really getting to the heart of examining those beliefs so that we can have a template to work with. And this is what this is all about. Okay, so believe it or not, this is what this is for. It's a template to follow, to navigate at this very challenging time. It was designed at this very challenging time. And I believe that people who are attracted to it and get in touch with it were there at the time that it was being formulated. So that once we understand more about our patterns and our codes, then we remember how this was mapped. And, a lot of so-called science today has an agenda. It's a corporate thing. It's a money thing. And so it's not going to be clear and free. A lot of research in education, in universities, in different sectors are funded by people who have an agenda to understand psychology and to use it, and to use it in a way that they're not supposed to be using it. And so understanding all of this is important to people so that they can make informed choices, especially about their health and about how they live their life and how they start to create something that's really healthy and wonderful as we go through this squeeze, as we go through this black hole now to come out the other side. So over the next 13 days, we are going to be focusing on initiating. So everything that's gone before, since the 19th of May, you've had your awakening, 52 days, you've had your refining, you've had your transformation, and in the last 52, you've seen what is manifest. And some of that may have been extremely tricky and challenging. And I know for most people now, they've got that showing up somewhere in their life. And so trusting that, instead of hiding away from it, looking at it deeply, the triggers, the emotional triggers, the trauma, the holograph that is still showing childhood issues. It may not just be our childhood, but our ancestors as well. And you can always find this out, this information as well, to find out your story. If you've got some ancestors around as well, it's a great time to talk to them while they're still here. So set an intention today as to, with the moon in waning degrees, what's seeking release around what hurt in the home. Because Cancer is around the home, it's around mothering, it's around nurturing. And what's still showing up for you around that on a day-to-day basis, so that you can make a change. And as you make a change, you will change the world. Please get in touch with me if you'd like a consultation ready for the next 260-day cycle. If you just want to message me about what's been challenging you, that's great, because I am designing it with human beings in mind, of course. That's what it's all about. Sharing our resources, our community, and our learning together, and how we can support each other in a healthy, proactive way. So lots of love to you, and I hope you have an amazing seasonal time in whatever way that works for you. And I'll probably do another video for the winter solstice too, and just not overstretching myself, so hoping that I will have the time and energy and resources to do that. So lots of love, and remember that we're here because we chose to be here at this time, and we absolutely have the ability to do this journey. Bye for now.